mobile home, and this is from a book, Legal Tactics, Tenants' Rights in Massachusetts, July 2008, Chapter 19. Most mobile home tenants think of their homes in just that way, as mobile homes. Law, however, uses the term manufactured home when describing the rights of mobile home tenants. 3, the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts does not differentiate between a mobile home and a manufactured home. Quote from the Attorney General's 116-page book on the right of owners of manufactured homes, quote, many manufactured housing residents have found that manufactured homes, parentheses, sometimes called mobile homes, end of parentheses, offer benefits of traditional site-built housing. Number 4, the Department of Transportation, Mass DOT, does not differentiate between a manufactured home and a mobile home. The part of their laws specifically says manufactured housing / mobile homes. I won't read the description to you. And 5, the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles does not differentiate between a manufactured home and a mobile home. Massachusetts General Law, MGL C-140, Chapter 140, Section 32Q, a manufactured, parentheses, mobile, end of parentheses, home, as defined in that law. So we do not believe that the current interpretation is correct. We believe that the structure there is a mobile home and a manufactured home. The second issue that I brought up, the challenge, is violation of federal and state regulations. I forwarded the federal regulations and the guidelines for manufactured homes. The city has declared it's a manufactured homes. These are highly regulated in the floodplain. In 2011, we spent, well, starting in 2011, 2.5 years on a conservation case involving a manufactured home in the floodplain. And let me just briefly explain the challenge. They float in about 2.5 inches of water. So if you get knocked off your foundation, you're now floating in the floodplain, and you can kill people and you can damage property. So a mobile home or a manufactured home that is not secured is a risk to the lives of Pawtucketville citizens who live in the floodplain. Secondly, manufactured homes are light and blow over easily. It is not true that tornadoes are attracted to mobile home parks, but it is true that they are lighter, they have flat surfaces, and I have seen figures as low as 40 miles per hour is enough to shift one off of its foundation. FEMA makes a big deal out of this because of the danger of a manufactured home in a floodplain. And the two dangers are floating or getting knocked off the foundation and damaging other property. We have to follow FEMA regulations because FEMA also manages the National Flood Insurance Program. In the Environmental Handbook for Massachusetts Conservation Commissioners, it clearly explains the role of FEMA guidelines to the cities. It's in the Chapter 16. In order to qualify for a National Flood Insurance Program, FEMA requires municipalities such as Lowell to adopt FEMA guidelines as ordinances and bylaws. Therefore, we have to adhere to the same guidelines that FEMA makes for mobile manufactured homes. So the two current challenges are that we do not agree that there's a difference between the implementation of laws when you look at mobile homes and manufactured homes, and that this current manufactured home is in violation. It is in violation because when the applicant went before the Conservation Commission, they described the structure as a prefabricated single-family home, one-story wood building. It's not, and everybody here knows that. It's not prefabricated. We know what prefabricated is, and it's not wood. And therefore, the applicant is in violation of their order of conditions because they falsified information about the building that was placed on the premises. Had they said we were placing a manufactured home on a foundation, they would have been subject to FEMA regulations. So Conservation Commission has not approved this structure. They have approved a one-story prefabricated wood home. We too thought it was a construction trailer. Went in one day. It looks like a trailer. It acts like a trailer. A former city inspector called us up and said, "Why do you have a trailer? Why do you have a mobile home on premises?" And that started the ball rolling. The long-term change, as I mentioned previously, the future challenge is changing the zoning law, and I think that's relatively simple. Rather than differentiating between what a modular home is, a mobile home, and a manufactured home, why don't we do like the state and the federal government and simply call them manufactured parentheses mobile end of parentheses homes? Again, to reiterate Councilor Mercier's comment, the only thing that differentiates a manufactured home from a mobile home is the date it was manufactured. I think that's enough for now.
Okay, thank you, John. Anyone else like to address the subcommittee? Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I'm just getting confused on what we keep calling manufactured and mobile homes. I mean, basically, if it has an axle and it drives in, it's a mobile home. From my experience in the last 30 years, a manufactured home, no matter how big or how small, is delivered and put together on site. So I don't see how there's, well, modular manufactured, it's manufactured somewhere else. It's put together on site. So that's, to me, is my definition of manufactured modular home. If the house came in on wheels, like they do at the schools, and that's against the zoning law, then it should be pretty clear. But, so I don't know, we really shouldn't be arguing about that. It just should be kind of a clear-cut question here. But as you said, the request for today's meeting is to review dwelling classifications. So, I mean, there must be something in there that you must fit the neighborhood that you're going into, right?
Correct. And I think
That's what we need to look at,
Mr.
too.
Slagle indicated that they would really kind of hone down on the definitions, be it mobile, manufactured, or prefab, and then whatever other suggestions that we receive as a subcommittee, either from the council and/or from the residents, we would certainly consider and bring to the full council at some point in the future.
Right.
But
I
think
mean,
we're
when
gonna
we brought up the, we bring up examples of, say, Andover Street. And over the years, we put some pretty small houses next to some pretty big houses, which we could all agree, or disagree, but does it fit the neighborhood? Probably not, but they've been done. So I'm looking at that. I mean, it should fit the neighborhood. Just recently, we had the issue on Andover Street where someone wanted to put 4 or 5 houses in, and it clearly did not fit the neighborhood. And I think that's what we should be looking at. So that would be my suggestion. I'd really like to get some clear definition later on what we describe as mobile, manufactured, and modular homes. I think they're all different, but we should clear that up also. And then one other thing, if we can or can't, I did try to reach out to the Conservation Board. I didn't hear back from them. So I think maybe that question needs to be answered too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Leahy. Anyone else to? Yes. Name and address, please. Thank you.
Hi, Kathleen Nutter, 248 Acropolis Road. Just a couple of things. With the FEMA regulations, I read the entire zoning ordinance the other day in the snow, when the snow was here. And it talks about a trailer, and if you call it a trailer or a mobile home, a highway vehicle designed, constructed, and equipped for use as a dwelling, which is capable of being hauled or towed or is self-propelled, including any such vehicle so converted as would make it immobile. So even if it is strapped down, according to FEMA, that it doesn't make it any less of a trailer. The other thing was what he just alluded to right there was the zoning, section 1.2, the purpose of the charter in there, other than the general welfare of the city, encourage the most appropriate use of land throughout the city to prevent overcrowding of the land, to conserve the value of the land and the buildings. I don't know what, when the house was there, what that was valued at for the land and the buildings, but I do know that what is there now has significantly less monetary value. And were I a neighbor, perfect example, the house next to me was just sold at auction. If the guy that just bought that wants to tear down what's there and replace it with something like that, I would not be very happy, because it does not conform with the neighborhood, and it's not replaced by something that's similar in size, shape, or value. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will tell you, and again, I want to be careful about going specifically to that address, but the feedback that we have, I'll speak for myself, that I as a city council have been getting from the people that live in the immediate neighborhood, they've been positive comments, that what's there now, even though unfortunately it's perpendicular to the street and not parallel to the street, so clearly it looks like what we're all suggesting, that it may, in fact, not maybe, because it's, in my opinion, it is a manufactured home, but that many residents are telling us that it's better than what was there. And it was, in fact, an improvement over what was there. Again, we've received a lot of comments, Yes.
I think the sad thing about this is it's really, that's making it personal, because what was there was so tragic, and the fact that he was there for 8 years and nobody helped him, and here we are saying it was better than that was there. That was his home, and it was damaged, and I'm sure it broke his heart. But nobody really, we didn't have Habitat for Humanity to help him, and so what they're saying is after 8 years of the tragedy, you know, now he has that there. So it's almost like, it's not a personal thing. We're talking about zoning. And so whether or not it looks better or not, we have zoning rules, and that's what we're here for. We're not here about an individual tragic situation. We're talking about zoning. And where it's a basic, we are just not agreeing with the evaluation of the city of what the zoning requirement is. That's all we're here for, is the zoning, and I think we made a good presentation about how we disagree with the interpretation, and I think you could really look at that interpretation and say that a modular manufactured home is the same thing. It is not different. If the government and the state and the federal government doesn't think it's any different, the city of Lowell somehow sees the difference, and we're saying there is no difference. So I just wanted to say that. And he, again, we have a heart that poor guy, after 8 years of having a car go through there, and you think about it, it's a little, you know, sad that we all sit here 8 years later and we find out that, you're right, we didn't help him, you know, but this doesn't help him either. So thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I guess I'll turn it back over to the administration and see what, I'm sorry, Councilor Belanger? I'm going to talk about next steps for the subcommittee. You talk about definitions, and Councilor Belanger.
No, I think you're right, Mr. Chairman, with that. That's the direction. The focus needs to be on the ordinance as it stands now going forward. So I guess it would be to you, Mr. Slagle, and to the commissioner, that take a hard look at this ordinance, and we need to, you know, clearly outline these specifications between modular, mobile, and manufactured. What's the difference? What's allowed? What isn't? And how many are allowed in a particular street?
Oh, and how many are allowed in a particular street or a neighborhood? Because I think the issue is that this doesn't really conform. And I think in this situation here, the man's elderly, you know, he had to replace his home. He doesn't need 1,500 square feet. And I think he brought something into his needs that suits his life at this time. So I don't agree. I'd like to have something that conforms there myself. I don't agree with it, but everyone acted within the law. That includes the man who's there and the commissioner and yourself. But we need to prevent this going forward from this happening, that these things, as Councilor Mercier stated, that we don't keep seeing this, a pattern. So I think we need to review this ordinance. I know it's going to take a couple of weeks to draft up or whatnot, what protects the neighborhoods from this happening in large numbers to prevent it from happening in the future. So I know it's in good hands with yourself and the commissioner, but you could, the next couple of weeks, we'll schedule another meeting a month or so, and maybe you can come back with a draft for us to look at and to consider. But it's preventative measures from this point forward to ensure that, our neighborhoods, this doesn't happen in big numbers. So that's what we need to do. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council Belanger. Anything else at this point? I guess at this point, the chair would like to entertain a motion to continue the subcommittee meeting until we do get some additional information from the administration.
So
Motion by Council Belanger, second by Council O'Rourke. Roll call, please.
Mazo?
Yes,
Counsel Belanger?
Yes.
Counsel Rourke? Yes. 3 yeas.
very good. Anything else at this point? Thank you all for being here, and we certainly appreciate your time and efforts. Thank you.